Hey everyone, this is Andrew from the Console Gaming Crew, and we couldn't be happier to announce that we are now a part of the Boss Rush Podcast Network and are featured on BossRushGames.com. BossRushGames.com is a great place where you can find up-to-date news articles, blogs, and podcasts about video games. In addition to that, there's a growing collection of podcasts in not just the gaming community, but other communities as well. We are honored to be a part of such a great network of podcasters, so please stop by and give everyone a listen. Thank you so much and enjoy the show.
Yo, crew members, what it be?
Heyo!
Ho!
I like adding the extra ho.
You like the extra ho?
I like the extra ho. I like the extra ho.
I
So,
didn't realize we were getting into it like that. Okay.
this week, it's down to Wes and I again because Anthony is a little bit... He's got stuff going on. I don't want to give out his business, but yeah, he's a little under the weather. He's a little under the weather at the moment. So it's just you and me.
Yeah,
and I also have a baby in the room, so there may be a cameo or two from my son if you hear a baby's voice. You know.
Yeah, we might hear some coos, which is all good.
Dad life happens sometimes. You know?
Oh, absolutely. It is Dadder Day after all.
I wanted Mama Bear to get out and do a couple errands that she wanted to be able to do and not have to do it around my time all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm like, hey,
I got you.
Give me the baby, go out, get
Sure,
done
everybody
what you want to get
understands.
done, and we'll be fine. But we're doing what we normally do when Anthony's not here. Or one of the two things we normally do, and we're going. Well, exactly, sir. We're going back in time, and we're doing consoles through history.
Yes.
He's got the biggest smile on his face. Get ready to learn. Get ready to learn, son. So what we have right now is the very last episode before we get into the golden age of gaming. The golden age, right? Where we start getting into some of like the real well-known stuff.
Some of the stuff everybody can recognize.
Some of the stuff that we own. Yeah.
And he's happy. I love it.
Yeah. Goes from happy to angry super fast though, so I'm like constantly looking to see like, all right, when do I got to
Yeah, because he's seeing how quick you're going to look. That's all it is.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm just giving him the eye. But anyway, so the system that we were up to now, the last system that we did, I believe, was the Bally Astrocade, right? That's the last one we did. That's where we got introduced to games, revolutionary games like Pac-Man and Frogger and Space Invaders and stuff like that. And now we are up to Mattel Intellivision, where I don't know, how much research you did into the, like, my parts of what we normally do. So, I may or may not blow your mind. Mind blown, dude. Mind blown. Everywhere. Because while the last one, it was more the games that kind of drove it, there's a lot of innovations that came with this system.
I did see some of the innovations, and I was
it's
like,
a lot.
Oh, shit, okay, now
like
I see
I see where the roots started here. So before we start this thing, I don't know if you want to give yours, but I'm going to give mine right out the gate so I don't forget. The websites that I used, as always, retrogamingconsoles.com, which is one of the ones I always say that I use. They have great stuff when you're looking up these retro consoles. Gamasutra.com and GameFAQs.com. I like the Gama Sutra, by the way. That's incredible.
That's an awesome name for a website. I'm not gonna lie. The websites I used, I used Wikipedia to get some of my information. Then I also used thepeopleshistory.com to go ahead and give me some of the information that we have for 1979, which is the year that this console came out.
Mattel Intellivision. Any guesses on who the manufacturer was?
If I were a betting man, I'd say Nintendo. No. No, actually, so yes, it is Mattel, but is this the same Mattel as in like Barbie and all that shit?
Yeah, actually.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll go into. Well, we'll get into the history in a minute. So yes, manufacturer is Mattel. The release date, it released in the U.S. test market in 1979, then in North America in 1980, and Europe and Japan in 1982. It had a runtime from 1979. It was finally discontinued in 1990. You got a price on that?
Yeah, the price was about $250 back then. If you come back to me in a quick sec, I'll be able to tell you what that is now.
I got it if you don't want to wait.
Okay, go ahead.
Like, if you don't want to wait. So, well, I actually, for whatever reason, I wonder if I got it at a different point in its production, because I actually had the price at $275. But either way, $25 difference, no biggie. But $275 in 2021 is about $915.48. So take $25 off of that. You're talking about the high 800s.
Okay, so I mean,
about the 890s is what you'd be paying for that today.
Less than a phone.
Less than a phone.
But more than standard console.
Yes. So the specs on this bad boy, it's got a 16-bit CPU from General Instruments called the CP1610, which was clocked at a whopping 894.886 kilohertz. 7,168 bytes of ROM and 1,456 bytes of RAM. Developers could use all colors from the 16 color palette at the same time. Visually, it ran 160 by 196 pixels, and the General Instruments audio chip, which was the AY38910, allowed to output 3 channels of sound. Now, this system is all about the peripherals and the add-ons, basically, that came out with it. Some flopped, some did not. The first one is the play cable. Now, this is huge. Now, you're going to hear this twice, because this also I will come back to in innovations, and you'll definitely... Yeah, I know, dude. That's what I'm saying. And you'll see why. So the Intellivision play cable was introduced in 1980, and like the Sega Channel 14 many years later, it allowed cable companies to provide games via cable wires to an adapter. So you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
Play cable was a joint venture between Mattel and General Instruments, and development began even before the Intellivision had a wide release. Testing began in several cities in 1980, Illinois, Jackson, Mississippi, Boise, Idaho, and was officially launched in 1981. The play cable, now again, wow, are we okay? Because Daddy's got to talk about the play cable real quick, because this is important stuff. So get this, and again, this is just furthers along, where this is going. The play cable was a subscriber-based, was subscriber-based, and incurred a monthly fee for access to up to 20 games per month for $12 a month, plus a $25 activation fee, which is about $63.15 as of 2018. So probably add about $30 or $40 to get the 2021 version. It was available to 13 cities upon launch, and by 1983, 650,000 subscribers had the service. The cost of the adapters and the computer needed to provide the games, the inadequacies of the adapters, and when it came to downloading larger games, not to mention the video game crash of '83, is all what contributed to the downfall of the play cable. But when you have things like Game Pass now and PS Plus and stuff like that, you see where this started.
Well, I mean, even just standard downloadable, like DLCs for games. That's where this kind of began. This kind of started with that type of thing. With you can go ahead and put more. I mean, this was literally, you could put a game on from anywhere. Going ahead, just make it straight up downloadable. So that's, like I said, man, that's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So you also had this is another one, the Intellivoice voice synthesis module, which they sold for $100. It was released in 1982. It inserted into the cartridge slot, allowing users to generate audio speech. Now, it only came with 5 games when it was released, and basically what it did was it was the first time really you had speech in a game. So one of the games, I think, was called like B-17 Bomber or something like that, or I think it was called B-14 Bomber. So of course, in that computerish voice, you plug the game. B-14 Bomber is kind of what you would get, but nonetheless, it was
the bomb.
Yeah, it was voice on the system, which is everything these days. So
yeah.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna see if I pick you up and bring you with me, if you'll be a little bit more chill.
Well, while you go ahead and do that, how about I tell everybody about 1979?
Oh, my goodness, I forgot all about that. And this is always one of my favorite parts.
It is kind of what I do, right?
This is what you do.
So, 1979, which was, what was this? This was the end of disco, essentially. All right, so let's go ahead.
Disco. Could you imagine us in those days?
Oh no, not at all. So the cost of a gallon of gas was 86 cents, which is just freaking bonkers.
Considering I just paid like $3.50 something. Yeah, I'll take 86 cents any day of the week.
The average cost of a new house was $58,000.
So, suck my dick is what you're saying. Cool. Cool.
The cost of a Toyota Corolla, brand
Oh,
new,
God. Oh, goodness.
$3,698.
Meanwhile, a brand new Toyota Corolla now is what, somewhere between like 18 and 28, probably.
Yeah, pretty much.
Probably more
Some
than
of the big things that happened in 1979. This was probably one of the biggest, at least in pop culture wise. Michael Jackson released his breakthrough album, Off the Wall.
Wow, I have that album.
You have that album?
I have the album. A Dorito invaded my gums.
Yeah, I could tell.
Messed me up.
Another thing that happened in 1979 was you have the launch of ESPN, Entertainment and Sports Programming Network.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Yep, that all started back in 1979. Some of the popular films of 1979, you had Superman the movie, Rocky 2, Alien, Amityville Horror.
Damn.
Star Trek the motion picture.
Did you say Star Trek?
I meant Star Trek. Apologies.
Thank you for all our Trekkies out there.
Star Trek the motion picture. Kramer vs. Kramer. The Deer Hunter. Some of the big musicians and songs of the time. You had Love You Inside Out from the Bee Gees.
Sounds kind of gross, but all right.
I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. Yes.
Heck yeah, bro. Makes me think of the Replacements.
Heart of Glass from Blondie. And then some of the big bands of that time were the Eagles, the Commodores, Pink Floyd, the Police, the Village People. Like Michael Jackson, obviously, man. It's just Rod Stewart. Like, this year had some big stuff. And I have 3 people that were born in 1979, amongst many others.
Yeah.
You have Kate Hudson.
She was born in the 70s?
Yeah, she was born in 1979.
Wow. Okay.
Another one that was born in 1979 is Jennifer Love Hewitt. I spent a lot of time. She was born in the 70s too? I spent a lot of time looking at her going, wow, she is just pretty. Good Lord. And the late but amazing Heath Ledger was born in 1979. Still by many to be considered one of the best Jokers.
For my money, he is the best Joker, and that's for me having seen all. Okay, granted, now this is going to show my lack of DC knowledge.
It's fine.
Was there a Joker back in like the Adam West days?
Yes.
Okay, so that one I can't speak about because
Cesar Romero.
I never
Cesar Romero was the Joker back then.
I've seen every Joker from every live Joker. I'm not talking like Mark Hamill.
Okay, because I was about to say that's my number.
Every live Joker I've seen from Jack on. So as far as live Jokers go, Heath is my winner. Mark Hamill's anyway. We're going so far off topic, but regardless,
no, we're doing what we're supposed to. It's our show. We do what we want. But yeah, man. So that's kind of the big things that happened in 1979. And also you were talking about the whole run of this console. Now, I only have numbers from like 1980 to 1983, but the amount of units sold for this console was roughly around 3 million within that span. So you're talking like an average of 1 million a year, which doesn't sound like that bad. I mean, look, you went up against Atari. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So,
remember that you just said that, by the way, because that's going to come back around later. About them going up against Atari.
Oh yeah, but I have seen. I've seen a handful of things. When people go ahead and talk about this was the unchallenged king of graphics when it comes down to like certain reviews for the system.
Wow.
You have but unfortunately the controller, which was it had no real overlay. Like the controller was essentially, it kind of looked like a mix of a remote control and a dial. You know what I mean?
Because it had the disc.
Yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't really much of a thing, so it was kind of difficult to operate. Not a lot of people really liked the controller. The greater graphics power than the dominant Atari 2600. It was slower than 2600 and had less software available, but it was known for its superior sports titles, which is another one of the big things. World Series Major League Baseball came out in 1983, and it is basically considered the first sports simulation game ever. So you're talking about the show. You're talking about Madden, NHL, NBA, 2K, all of it. It all started from this system. This system was the first to give us anything even remotely close.
It is so sick to like trace back all the shit that we love today to where it started. The grassroots, it is just so sick.
Like, plus,
and you wonder when this came out back in the day, the people that had these, if they ever would have actually imagined that it would turn into what we have now.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you were the one that was doing innovations, but I want to chime in on this just because I love this. So, games like The Sims and Minecraft and just basically those construction and management simulations.
Yeah,
that started here too. That started with Intellivision with a game called Utopia back in 1982.
Oh, Utopia, cool.
So
build your perfect place.
Yeah, dude, it's like look, it's build a utopia. It speaks for itself. But
this is a little off topic, but what's interesting about this kid right now is that when he was down there babbling and cooing to get my attention to get up here, he's now been on my lap for like the last 10 minutes, making a peep, and he's looking back down at where I took him from.
Yep, hasn't even looked at you. I know, I can see him.
Wanted nothing to do with it when you were down there, but anyway, yeah. Well, let me know when we're back to me, sir.
Well, please go ahead, jump back in, and later on I'll go ahead and I'll give a list of some of the games that were actually part of the system as well.
Perfect. So we're going back to the peripherals that came out, and this is the biggest one. It did end up flopping. Comes back around on the innovation side of things, but it was a huge PR nightmare for them, and that is the entertainment computer system. So Mattel had heavily persuaded users to purchase the Intellivision at launch by promising them that a keyboard would be released, which would turn the console into a fully functioning computer. This would be achieved by adding 16 kilobytes of RAM to 16,000, of RAM to the keyboard, which would be expandable up to a huge 8 megabytes, and integrated cassette drive for storage and a secondary CPU. They also promised a printer accessory down the line as well. They had originally planned to release the console in 1981, but as Mattel began to develop the keyboard, they soon realized that the original design was way too ambitious and would be much too expensive to develop and sell. Because of this delay, the Federal Trade Commission started to investigate them for false advertising due to thousands of complaints. And in the summer of 1982, the FTC started to fine Mattel $10,000 a day until the promised upgrade was made available to customers. Go ahead.
Now, think about what came with this keyboard component, right? You had a text overlay, like you said, being able to go ahead and type with the keyboard, tape drive, which gives you an audio component, a microphone input to essentially make it seem like what we're doing now.
Yeah.
As well as 2 expansion ports to be able to probably, give you a little bit more usable space.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is crazy. Now, again, talk about a PR nightmare because they were getting fined $10,000 a day until it was made available. Their plan B was to develop a low-cost version of the original plans. The final product was called the Entertainment Computer System, was released at the end of 1982. But as far as what they promised, boy, did they underdeliver, because with all the things they promised, which was the which was the keyboard, the cassette drive, the secondary PCU, and the printer accessory, what you got was a system that only had 2 kilobytes of RAM, a cassette deck with reduced features to what they promised, and no secondary CPU. So it wasn't exactly particularly successful, and also. That's what I want to say. So they really underdelivered what they were supposed to. But so tracing back a little bit, because the first thing you asked me was if this is like the Mattel that we know.
Yeah.
So a little bit of history. So the Mattel company was founded in 1945. Back then, primarily a manufacturer of picture frames and dollhouse accessories. And then after, what took over for Mattel, what their big breakthrough was. I'm sure you can figure it out.
Barbie.
Exactly. After the introduction of the Barbie doll line in 1959, the company shifted its focus entirely to toys. Smart idea.
Not only does my wife thank me for that, my daughter does as well. We have Barbies here.
So they decided to focus entirely on toys and ditch the picture frames. I'd say a smart choice for Mattel.
That's like a Nintendo level thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Back drop
cards. Dropped in playing cards and dive all the way in. Barbie's unbelievable success swelled Mattel's coffers and soon diversified its lineup by purchasing smaller toy companies with unrelated product lines. Today, with well-known brands such as Hot Wheels, Barbie, and an ongoing series of acquisitions that include Fisher-Price and Tyco, Mattel is one of the world's largest and most successful toy makers. But this is where they, started throwing their hat in the ring. In 1977, Mattel, under its Mattel Electronics line, purchased it's called Auto Race, the very first all-electronic handheld game.
Oh, shit.
The visuals were represented by red LED lights, and the sound consisted of simple beeps. But the novel product was a huge success, spawning several other handheld games such as Football and Battlestar Galactica. These games sold millions and gave Mattel the confidence to move into the fledgling video game console market with the Intellivision master component, which is what we're talking about now. So that's how they got from where they were to the Intellivision. Go ahead.
Now, so I want to go back to talk about the keyboard.
Yeah,
I know, I apologize to everybody for jumping around as much as we are, but the system has so much happening within its, within its almost 20 years or so of, of life.
This is a tough system to cover because all the ones we did have had little things here and there that you can see how they morphed into things that we have today. But this system specifically, there's so much, almost every avenue of this system you see in systems that we have today.
Yeah, it kicked the door down.
Yeah.
So everybody knows who Jay Leno is, right? The comedian, used to be the host of
Big Chin, Lots of Cars.
Yep.
Funny guy.
So apparently at Mattel's 1981 Christmas party, he did a comedy show for the Christmas party.
Oh, wow.
And the biggest response of the night was when he said, "You know what the three big lies are, don't you? The check is in the mail, I'll respect you in the morning, and the keyboard will be out in spring." Dude, that's how notorious. Jay Leno,
baby. That's how notorious that entertainment computer system was. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is so great. I love that.
Yeah, when you make it into a Jay Leno joke, you've made it.
I wonder how much they paid him to be there.
Oh, probably a ton. Which, funny enough, if he came in at that point when they had already, and if that was a joke, I wonder, when did you say that was?
81.
That was 81, you said. So I wonder if that was before or after, like they were getting fined $10,000 a day. But anyway,
I think before, because if it was after, I don't think anybody would nobody would laugh at it because it's like.
So it's time for the innovations. I got this off GameFAQs. It's the top 10 innovations that came with this system. So the first one, 16-bit. Now, this is interesting because you don't think of 16-bit until you get to 1987, which is the fourth generation of consoles, which is widely regarded as the 16-bit era, which was made popular by Sega, SNEX, TurboGrafx, stuff like that. Are you interested? Do you want to go back down? Would you like to go back down and play a little bit? Did I just get through this one part? So essentially, Intellivision was 16-bit before 16-bit. So, they were the first. Dual wielding controllers is something that they farted around with first. And yes, I definitely just said farted around. It's nothing like it is today, but they were at least the first to mess around with that. This goes back to what you were talking about with the baseball professional sports licensing. They were the first to go around to all of the major sports and get the licenses to be able to use their branding and stuff like that in games.
Likeness,
which obviously
the team names, because
all that stuff. Dude, you want to know how far they went? They even went as far as I forget what the acronym is, whatever they use for it, but they went to like the professional chess league for their chess games and got their licensing as well. Yeah.
So one of the things I remember from Blades of Steel was a game back with Nintendo, and obviously we're going to talk about Nintendo soon enough. You mean the NES? Mm-hmm. But I remember with that game I guess they didn't have the rights from the NHL or the teams because it was just Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Washington. You know what I mean? Like there were no names.
Absolutely. I agree. So, they were up there. Software updates. God, we get what? Fucking 5 of those a week, probably?
Yeah,
5 of those a month, probably. Now. But yeah, software updates, patches to games and stuff like that. And obviously, it's not like it is today where the patch just comes through the internet and it's done in 2 seconds. Theirs were as far as, they would listen to feedback and they would go back and they would fix games that had glitches in them. So thumb control. The other systems that you would have up until this point didn't. Now again, the controller isn't the best. You saw it. It looks ugly as shit. It has that dial or whatever. But think of how you play games today. You have the toggle for your thumb.
Yes.
That's what that dial was for. They were the first system to have your thumb be what is used to move your character around, while you use the other buttons and things to do the other stuff. The other systems, you either had a joystick where you had to have your whole hand moving things around on the buttons, like you see in arcades. But they were the first to add in thumb control. Now, this is the part where I said to remember what you brought up about Atari. They were the start. People won't consider it, but they were legitimately the start of console wars, because they started such a war with Atari. They actually came out with commercials, and they were the first video game commercials showing how games run on their system versus another. So they had commercials actually showing how games ran on their system versus running on the Atari 2600.
Into which, like I talked about before, where they actually had better graphic capabilities,
yes, absolutely,
on the Intellivision than the Atari 2600.
Absolutely. I'm not going to go over this again. We can discuss it a little bit if you want, but we brought it up before, is the digital distribution and subscription gaming with the Play Cable. I brought up the Play Cable. You have a monthly
just so
fee.
Cool.
It's Game Pass. It's Game Pass. That's what it is. That was their Game Pass, essentially. You paid a subscription fee, you paid a flat fee per month, and you got games. You got however many games. Same thing. It's games with gold. It's Game Pass. It's PS Plus. That's that.
I mean, it only ran for 4 years.
Yeah, I'm sure it was improved. It was improved upon later by Sega, I believe. We'll get to that when we get to that. And then lastly, even though it did flop a little bit, they started what every console. Xbox has been way more notorious with this than PlayStation, but they all try to do it. What do they all try to do these days? They try to make the all-in-one console. How many times have Xbox done that? Your console will control your entire room. It'll control this, your access to the internet, your email, your this, your that. Well, they were, promising all the stuff that they promised and tried to do with the keyboard and all the other things. They were really the first to try this and a printer to try to make this an all-in-one thing. All the major things you would need to use back then, as far as your technological stuff, we're making it all-in-one. Granted, it flopped, but you see how other systems were able to learn from what they tried to do and improve upon that. But those are the innovations. So now I'll turn it over to you, because you have the games and some other little tidbitties.
Tidbitties, okay. But so I'm going to break this down essentially, and I'm just going to talk about a few from each topic. So you're talking about sports games, action games, space action, strategy, regular straight up gaming, kids learning, and then arcade. So those are all the types of games.
Because we talked about that, and we still haven't done an episode on it yet, but that's cool that they even have they have kid learning games on there.
Yeah, so there were essentially 133 titles that came out for the Intellivision. And I mean, we already talked about it earlier with like Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, NHL, PBA bowling, PGA golf, U.S. ski team was a game.
And tell you what, they said, if we're getting licensing, we're getting licensing. You play checkers professionally, we're getting it. You play hopscotch professionally, we're getting it.
Some of the action games were like a game called Shark. You had Sea Battle. You had Tron games, Deadly Discs, and Mazatron. I'm waiting for you to
get to some of the big bangers that people still play today. I know you'll get there.
We have Utopia. We already talked about that. Checkers. We already talked about that. Backgammon. You have, let's see here. You have horse racing, blackjack, poker, roulette.
We gambling, son. We gambling. We're gonna 100%. We're gonna bet on horses. We're gonna gamble. Whatever 100%. Little money we got back in the day, we're gambling.
And I mean, dude, other games. I mean, like B-17 Bomber. That's the one that you were talking about.
Correct. And I said B-14.
You also have a game called Kool-Aid Man. So.
Oh yeah.
You had Masters of the Universe, The Power of He-Man, Pinball, which is a huge thing. Pitfall.
Mm-hmm.
Pitfall.
Dude, just wait, because I'm waiting for you to get to that game.
You have Centipede. You have Pac-Man. You got Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr.
There they are. Yep.
Donkey Kong and
Donkey Kong Jr., baby.
You have a Beauty and the Beast game. You have a Dracula game. You're talking about.
You had a lot of. You notice we're now getting to, especially with this system. You had it in the last system, I believe, because the Astrocade had a He-Man game as well, right?
It might have. I'd have to double check on that.
There was something that we went, oh shit, that's He-Man. But now that you get the Intellivision, you're really starting to see these licensed characters. You know, He-Man and what else did you say? You said not to mention all the sports games. But what else did you say?
Beauty
after
and the
He-Man?
Beast was another one.
Beauty and the Beast, but there was something you said after He-Man. I forget what it was.
We had He-Man, Pinball, Pitfall. Pitfall was another one.
But what keep going after Pitfall?
Pac-Man, Donkey Kong Jr.
I thought you said something else. But
nope, I did.
Maybe
I don't think so. Other ones you have Frogger, Q*bert, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. Like, dude, they like I said, dude, 133 games, dude. This list. The very last game that came out for this system was World Championship Baseball in 19. Well, no. So one of the last ones that was just the individual title was the World Championship Baseball. It came out in 1985. You had other ones that kind of like spanned around, like Triple Challenge, which is a board game, Tower of Doom, which is an RPG. You know what I mean? I mean, those ones came out in like 87. You had like Super Pro Volleyball. Really? I mean, that came out in 1989. Like, dude, this shit's. They had such for the graphics that they used at the time. These games were the top, especially the sports games.
But think about what you just said. As far as how many games?
133.
I'm trying to look up. I'm trying to remember how many games the Astrocade had, because that was the last system that we covered.
See, that one didn't have that much. That
one was none of them really do. I can't think of any that were close to the 100, let alone 133. Did anything we've covered have that many?
No, this one easily tops the list of the most games so far. And once again,
the Astrocade had 28 officially licensed games, or officially released games. I'm sorry, 28. And this John's got 133, and 133 filled with licensed bangers.
Yes, and this also only happened within 10 years. This was from 79 to 89. You know what I mean? All these titles that I just said.
Yeah, touche. That's crazy. So as we always like to do when we wrap this thing up at the end, we try to take a look at the effect that it's had on gaming and where we can see elements of it in systems today, and like where do you not see elements of that today? Like I said, from subscription gaming to I gotta close my.
Being the first one for 16-bit processor, which is something that nobody really did for another 10 years.
Correct. Yeah. The
directional thumb pad.
The systems going out and getting licensing for games like Madden and NHL and all that started here. The console wars as we see them today, consoles sniping back and forth at each other, like all of that started here. Now there's actually one that I didn't bring up because technically it didn't come with the Mattel Intellivision. It came with the Mattel Intellivision 2, and that was a save and load feature, which is huge. That's everything in games today.
That's right.
Well, I'm not necessarily going to say it's everything. It's so funny how things come and go, and then people want them back. Because you got to remember, you went from no save, no load into save and load, and then the save and load got daunting, and that's when consoles started coming out with the autosave.
Yes.
And then people eventually, as cool as it is, started to get mad at the autosave because the game would save at a point where you didn't want it to save yet. Like, shit, there was something else I wanted to do real quick. My game just saved, and now I can't go back and do it. So then people ask, like, damn, can we have the ability to turn that off and just get a regular save load mechanic back? And now we have most games have both of them now. Not all of them. Some games just rely on autosave, but now you have the ability to have autosave, turn it on and off, and have the original save load system back. But the Intellivision 2 had a save and load system.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you can't look at most aspects of systems we have today and not see something that you can trace all the way back to Mattel.
Yeah, like I'm like we keep on talking about like little bits and pieces. I mean, and you said this earlier. We talk about bits and pieces of these consoles to where it's like, think about it now. Think about what we have now. This is where it came from. Mm-hmm. There is such a bulk of innovation, even more than just like the standard stuff with the processor, directional thumb pad, all that type of stuff. Just, you know what I mean? Just like this system completely changed sports games for the rest of time.
Yeah.
This system has changed the way that people who have a very neurodivergent type of mind be able to go ahead and play games like Minecraft and stuff. If we didn't have Utopia, we wouldn't have those types of things.
Absolutely. And like you said, it goes way beyond just the hardware and shit like that, because as time goes on, obviously that stuff's going to get better. The chips are always going to get more powerful and stuff like that, but it's more along the lines of the thought process that goes into some of these, like thinking about doing these things back then, the decision to go out and get these licenses for these sports games, the person who decided, hey, we're used to all these like ticks and beeps, why don't we get some voices in here? You know?
Yeah, that's another thing.
That is another thing. And you know, the save load and the everything, like
being able to add the microphone, being able to actually have a full, trying to turn it into a straight up computer.
Absolutely.
You mean essentially, and that essentially is sparking off PC gaming.
And I can't hate on them necessarily, because that's clearly very hard to do, because that is what got the reason that people love, myself included, love the Series X and S now, is because Xbox finally with this system got back to, and also a little bit with the Xbox One was a step up. They got back to just making the system for gamers and about the games, because what got them into hot water with some systems is they tried too much to integrate like your entire life with the system. So clearly it's something that Mattel tried, didn't necessarily work. Xbox has tried, didn't necessarily work. I know that's what I'm saying. It didn't work. And so that's something that's going to be a little tough. But you know, it started there.
Now I got a question for you.
I may have an answer for you.
So we have just finished up the end of an era.
Yes,
the beginning. Have. What is considered the foundation of video games to this day? If we didn't have the very beginning in 1967 with the brown box, and then moving on with the Odyssey, the Atari, the Coleco, 2600, Nintendo's original TV game series, the Astrocade, and then also the Intellivision. If we didn't have these systems, we wouldn't even be remotely close to having what we have from Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft now.
100%.
And one of the greatest things is that we're about to jump off next time in Consoles Through History with the original golden age of video games.
Yes, where you have some major entries from Nintendo, where it's not their first entry, because again, like you said, we did cover the Nintendo Color Game Series, but you do have the entrance of Sega. And we all love Sega.
And then you have a resurgence of Atari. You have the comeback kid in Coleco.
Absolutely.
Like, this next run of like 7 or 8 consoles that we're going to do over the span of most likely throughout this year,
about a decade. And also, what else enters into the golden age? Handhelds.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that soon as well. And
we are getting into the fun stuff. We're getting into the fun stuff now.
This is one of the reasons why I love this.
That beautiful build-up that you just gave. Did you forget to ask me the question? Because you started with, you had a question. And I said, I may have an answer.
My question basically was, are you ready for the golden age?
Oh my gosh, I'm ready. I actually have a question for you now that you ran through all that. Now, I feel like it may, I guess, be an easy answer depending on how you look at it. But what is your biggest takeaway from the beginning that we went through from 67 to 79? Either the system you thought contributed the most, something that, you know, maybe blew your mind, anything. It's super tough after what we just went through to not go Mattel Intellivision, just because of how much we can see in today's. But they also had the benefit of coming 12 years after the first system and seeing what they did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but it's tough. I mean,
it's interesting to look at it that way because of one of I'm more impressed with how these companies started and where to get to the point that they were in the 70s.
Yeah.
So you have Nintendo being a trading card company. You have, Bally. You have
Mattel being Barbie dolls and not Barbie dolls, sorry,
houses,
toys and
just accessories.
And picture frames. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You have Magnavox, which is just a freaking TV company. You have they sat here and said, what can we do to? It's essentially
stay relevant,
to make more money.
Make more money and stay relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, and knowing that kids aren't pushing hoops with a stick anymore, you know what I mean? Goes ahead.
Yeah, we're not playing kick the can anymore. So
even though that is a great game,
kick the can is great. I mean, it's so funny that people make fun of, kids today make fun of kick the can, yet everyone does this. I've seen everyone, no matter what age you are, do the same shit. If you're walking around the block or whatever, and you see a rock or something in your path, you kick it. That's the same thing as playing kick the can.
That is true.
You kick the thing until you can't kick it anymore, and then you're like, all right, I'm just keep going.
Yeah, if you want me to break down just one, it would have to be Mattel, just because of Mattel was probably the most influential of what we have now.
Yeah. Well, one big one for me would be the Atari Pong system, just because technically that was the birth of multiplayer gaming, of couch co-op.
That is true, which is something that is very, very, very big for you.
Absolutely, dude. Not even just. And look, I love online gaming. It's great. Online gaming, fun as well, online games started basically because people still wanted to be able to play games with their friends, even if their friends weren't allowed over, or if your friend didn't have that system, they'd come over, or if they had the system too, you could, play and have your own screen, because some people hated constantly you're playing GoldenEye, you're playing these shooters, and you have your already small TV screen broken up into 4 more little screens. So it's like, fuck, I want my own screen.
24-inch TV.
Yeah, the old boob tube. So that's where online gaming came from. But then, what's lost in online gaming is that feeling of having your friends with you right on the couch next to you. They score a nasty goal on you in hockey, you smack them around. You're all dining on the same pizza, or drinking a 6-pack or whatever the hell you're doing, eating snacks.
Yeah,
that's lost with online gaming now. Now there's a time and a place, because we wouldn't be able to do the streams that we do if it wasn't for online gaming.
That is very true.
So, I'm not knocking online gaming. I love it. I use it all the time, weekly. So, but it's cool that you saw in 1975 is when couch co-op technically started.
Yeah. And it started with just hearing boop, boop.
So that's a big one for me. Nintendo is something, obviously, was a cool takeaway, just because I didn't realize that they had an entry before NES. I thought NES was their first entry, so that was news to me.
Yeah, actually, I was pretty surprised about that. Look, man, I was surprised about the brown box, because I never even knew about it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be so much fun. Now, when we start the golden age, next time you hear from us, the anticipation's still going to be there, because even though we're entering the golden age, we still got a little bit before we start getting to the Segas and Nintendos and stuff like that. So the next time you hear from us, we will be talking about the Vectrex from 1982. Yeah. But
yeah, so
that's it for a little walk through history.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and close this out. Here's how you can connect with CGC. You can go ahead and come to our website, which is consolegamingcrew.com. Or you can hit us up on email, which is consolegamingcrew@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @consolecrew. Our YouTube and Instagram are both Console Gaming Crew. Facebook. But if you want to go ahead and check out other people that are part of this awesome network that we're a part of, please go to bossrushgames.com. You can go ahead and check out the Boss Rush Network. It is just gaming, entertainment, everything you want. Everybody there is just absolutely badass. Corey, Austin, Celeste, everybody, man, Stoy, dude, all of them, just badass people. So please bossrushgames.com. If you want to watch us play video games, we do have a Twitch. It is CGC Podcast. On Monday nights, I go ahead and do a co-op with some of my friends who are not on the podcast. And then on Friday nights, we kick it the fun way. We either go ahead and play a 3-way game with myself, Andy, and Anthony, or we will go ahead and run some Chell and go ahead and try to keep this undefeated streak alive. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I said it.
Yes, sir.
I said it.
I say it again.
And we'll go ahead and try to kick it that way. So thank y'all for listening. We know this one ran a little longer than normal Console Through History episodes, but appreciate y'all sticking around for it.
Yes, sir. Son, you want to take us out? What do you always say, Wes? Stay safe.
Stay safe. Wash your hands. Mask up, please. Let's get this thing going, y'all. And as always,
do you say game on? There it is. Game on, yo.
Game on, yo. Peace.